Charleston native Steve Bailey was in the real estate business for many years until a friend convinced him to become one of the top tour guides in Charleston. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with Steve one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on iHeartRadio. Steve Bailey, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you, Quintin.
Oh,
Always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Instead of running up and down on the street.
I know, right?
You're always on the go.
On the go, yeah. And I see you a lot as you are a tour guide.
Yeah.
You're in front of City Hall, Four Corners lot, East Bay Street, a plethora of places downtown. And a lot of people don't know that you're the owner of Charleston Walking Tours with Steve.
Right.
And obviously you're a licensed and registered tour guide and a native Charlestonian who offers a 2-hour walking tour of America's most historic city.
Yep.
Your website says this: the tour remains within the walls and buildings of the only English walled city in North America. The sailing ship Carolina first arrived in April of 1670 to settle in Charlestown, and Steve traces his ancestry to her. From the Four Corners of the Law to the Four Corners of the original wall, explore historic Charleston with someone who was born and raised here. What is it like to be you these days?
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. We have people visit from all over the world, and they're on vacation, first of all. So most of them, like 99% of them, are in a good mood. So that's a lot of fun to work, not in the old real estate business like I used to do.
Yeah.
To have people that really enjoy, and they really love our city. And people find out a lot of things they did not know about our city, and it's just fun to do that. I never was really a teacher of any sort. I coached a little bit at Ashley Hall with the track team, and that was fun as well. So to take people around the city, and honestly, I learn something almost every single day doing this, because I see something, and somebody might ask a question, but most times I see something and I go back and I actually pick up that tour guide exam, that book we had to study to take that exam, and refresh my memory, or see something in there that I go, oh yeah, I need to mention that the next time I'm on a tour. Now, 350 years of history, we turned 350 in 2020.
Right.
In 2 hours is kind of, you can't do it. So as a walking tour guide, I get to pick my own path, and I was very intrigued by the fact that we were a walled city. Now, I'll go outside the wall if somebody wants to do something a little different, but that really intrigued me from the very beginning, and so I enjoy kind of staying within that confines, and it's not hard. It was at first. It was at first, because you don't get a rule book for that. You got to pick your own path and figure out where you're going to walk, and try not to overlap with too many other tour guides. And every once in a while, we're pretty busy when there are cruise ships in town, and the time of year it might be that we have quite a few visitors. So I try to keep people away from other people if I can.
Sure. And you talk about that rule book. I have to take you to, obviously, Friday, August 3rd. This is the headline from abcnews4.com. Charleston Tour Guide License Law, Unconstitutional Federal Judge Rules. And let me read a portion of the article. It reads this from Channel 4. In what supporters call a victory for free speech, a federal judge in South Carolina has ruled unconstitutional, that is, a Charleston law requiring guides to be licensed by the city in order to give paid tours. When you heard that, where did your mind go to?
I didn't follow it closely, the whole process, because there were other people doing that, and I figured it'd be in good hands. Judge Norton's a great guy. He loves our city, and so you have to leave it in his hands. I'm assuming the city's going to appeal it. My first reaction, and people ask me about it, is that, look, I'm a native from Charlestonian. I know I passed the exam, and I don't think that companies are going to hire people who did not pass that exam. I really don't, and I think that's come to light, that the horse and carriage folks and the bus folks and all that say we're not going to hire anybody if they didn't pass the exam. So we'll see what the city. I still wear my license every day, and I'm sending my monthly tour fee in just like nothing ever happened. So I'm going to continue my way. It's tough to get into this business because you don't all of a sudden have a license and stand on the corner and say, hey, I'm a tour guide. People generally go on TripAdvisor or Yelp, and they see who's been recommended by someone. And it's taken me 3 years to get to that point. So good luck to those guys that are just starting out and they aren't licensed, because they're going to have it's going to be hard for them, I think. It's not easy. It was intimidating to study for that, and I understand, because that 600-page book, it's a lot of information crammed into that, and you don't have a course. You have to sit there and you read through that, and then you have to walk around and make it all make sense. And that's not for everybody. So, but you got to abide by the law, and I'll do whatever the law says we have to do.
And when you think of this whole tourism guide lawsuit and free speech, where does your mind go to when you think of free speech now?
Gosh, I thank God we're Americans. This is, God bless America. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, we've got all these amendments in our Constitution. I mean, we have 4 signers of the Constitution right here from Charleston, and so we're involved at the very beginning. Not all those, obviously, some amendments have been passed over the years, but the very first one they saw fit to pass was the First Amendment, and that's free speech. So we should all be able to. I mean, look at it today. Look at our politics today. There's some bizarre things that are being said from all the way at the top, I think. But God bless America. That's freedom of speech. So that's why you and I are sitting here.
Yes, sir. Right? Indeed, absolutely. And let me get back to you.
Okay.
It revealed something to me just a second ago that I didn't even know, and I thought I knew you, and I thought I knew your family. But you were in real estate.
Yeah.
Before tour guides.
Yeah.
What got you from real estate to saying, hey, I want to tell my story about the history of the city?
It's kind of, it probably was, I struggled through that last recession. And that wasn't my first recession, because I had got my real estate broker's license in 1980. So however long ago that was, a long time ago.
Right.
And I finally, the children are out of college. They're out of the house. And my wife said, do something different. Don't be frustrated every day. We don't have to bust it like we used to. And so I looked around looking at different things. I coached at Ashley Hall with my sister-in-law Gail. We won 3 state championships in a row. Kind of cool. And I volunteered a little bit of pay at Charleston Collegiate, where my daughter went to school, and worked for the headmaster for a year or so, and that was kind of fun. And then my next door neighbor said, I'm a tour guide. And I went, really? And she said, yeah, you need to go buy the book. And I did. Bought the book, looked at it, and went, dang, that's, and I put it on the corner of my desk, and I didn't pay attention to it. And finally my wife says, are you going to do that? And I said, I've started reading it a little bit. And my friend Teresa, this is Angie Chikaris, and then my friend Teresa Smythe, who's one of the 2 sisters, said, are you studying? And I said, well, yeah, I just can't make it make sense. She said, well, follow me on a tour. And I did. And Teresa is great friend, especially my wife grew up with her, and they were 12-year girls at Ashley Hall. And we finished the tour with her. And if you've ever followed Teresa around, she's funny, first of all. Her mother was a history teacher and one of the first walking tour guides. And we finished, and she usually has about 20 people, and she opens up her pocketbook and people start throwing cash in there. And I went, dang, that's a lot of money. And she said, what'd you think? I said, you call this a job? And she laughed, and she said, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And that got me, that really made me buckle down, and obviously I had to I had to make an 80 on an exam at the time. So I did it, and I really enjoyed it. It took a while to kind of get comfortable, but it's just a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun.
And now, if you go back to when you first began doing tours to right now, what's the biggest difference about giving tours?
Just being comfortable with myself, and I always have been comfortable with myself, but I want to make sure, and maybe this goes back to what we talked about, being licensed and taking an exam. I don't want to say anything that's wrong. I don't want to make anything up. And I tell people that, and I say, if I make something up, y'all are going to laugh because it's going to be a joke, and you're going to realize, and I'll tell you I made something up. But I don't want to, I just don't want to have somebody come back and say, well, he told us this, and that never happened in Charleston. Or if a date falls out of my head, and I can't remember if it was, 1730 32. I'm going to say it was in the early 1730s. I'm not going to try, I really don't want to try to make something up and have people leave here going, I'm not sure if that guy was telling me the truth or not. So I want to make sure I'm honest and that I have my facts right.
Right, exactly right.
And I didn't realize until I really got into it that I was intimidated by the dates and the addresses and things like that, that I maybe should have been an accountant or something. Numbers stick in my head.
Oh, really?
So that part actually became very easy to me. Surprised, I even surprised myself. I was like, dang, I know all these dates. It's kind of, my wife hadn't told me I would talk in my sleep yet, but I bet I do. Because all these numbers and dates and buildings and our great history just is in there. And again, I promise I do learn something new every day.
Every day.
Walking around, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And obviously when you talk about the Charleston history, what is that particular history moment that you still play in your mind about?
You know, and it's interesting for me, there are a lot of things. One of my most recent favorite things is standing at the Exchange building on the north side and talking about slavery.
Okay.
And yesterday, Mayor Riley walked by.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, y'all, Steve is the nicest guy. And I stopped him and I said, Mayor, and I shook his hand and said, congratulations on the International African American Museum. Did I get him? He does that every time. He does it every once in a while. He'll say I'm smart, but he usually just says I'm nice. So I love bumping into him because I tell people, go, now who's that nice? And usually by that time, if I've started at City Hall, I've talked about him for an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, so they know who he is. But I say, you know what? If we're 350 years old, he's the mayor for 40 years, that's pretty daggone important in our history. And it's my lifetime. Now, I don't know, I'm the youngest of 5 boys, and brother Jimmy's the middle child. And he grew up with Joe. So I've known Mayor Riley my whole life, practically, but being right out of high school, watching this guy get elected mayor up until, he stands up on the steps of City Hall and says bye. That's been pretty amazing just to watch, watch that and be able to grow up with that. So.
And you talk about slavery in Charleston. Obviously, the city of Charleston just passed the slavery resolution back in June. Where are you emotionally with that?
The apology?
Yes, sir.
I see both sides of it. It was 7-5, so it was a close vote, and Keith Waring, who's African American, voted against it. And so I don't know. That's why I want to go to the South Carolina Historical Society and trace back a little bit deeper into my roots because I don't know about this Captain Joseph Bailey guy that was on that first ship. I really don't know much about his background other than he's on my family tree. But Quintin, I don't know if my family owned slaves or not. I really don't. And I don't know if, I think I need to know that. I don't know if I want to know it, but I think it was a sad part of our history, but it's a part of our history, and we've got to live with it. I mean, there's no sweeping it under the rug, and Mayor Riley didn't want us to sweep it under the rug when 18 years ago, when he gave his State of the City address, he said, we're going to build an African American museum. So, that's his foresight. He's looking down the road, talking about building something up. That's Joe Riley. He builds stuff up. And so I think that might have been his approach to that even 18 years ago. So, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
That's perfect, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have, one way or the other, those council members made their vote and they've passed it, and it's passed. And so if it's made a difference, I don't know. That's to be seen, I guess.
And, when I interviewed Joe Riley for my web show for Quintin's Close-Ups back in April, he was obviously my 1,000th interviewee, and I always ask him all the time, is the International African American Museum his legacy? Is it his legacy in your mind?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of his. I mean, he's got so many. I mean, I laugh. People say, I said, well, we got a baseball stadium. We call it the Joe. we've got a waterfront park.
Right.
I said, we stole this tennis tournament from Hilton Head. He built a stadium over there on Daniel Island.
Right.
I said, he did so many things that, to pinpoint one thing, obviously that was a long time coming. 18 years to be able to get to that point. And I guess it'll be 20 years by the time it's completed.
Right.
So certainly that took a long time to come to fruition. So could be his most satisfying thing, because the last couple of years when he's retired as mayor, he's been dialing for dollars every day and getting a lot of money.
Right.
So to raise that amount of money, it's going to be one of the things. He's such a great guy that also, and that it's, I don't know, for me, I couldn't, you could have asked me to think about that for 2 weeks before we sat down, and I don't know if I still would have been able to pinpoint what's Joe Riley's legacy. It is certainly relationships, and it's relationships that goes beyond all borders. It's black and white,
Right.
male and female.
Right.
Anybody, as he said so sadly but eloquently, and he said it over and over his years, but the anniversary of and when the Mother Emanuel shooting happens, and he talked about our city and how people get along, and he said, I never had a table that if it wasn't big enough for everybody to sit around, I just got a bigger table, because I wanted everybody to be included in what decisions we made for our city. So maybe that's it. Maybe him having people feel, that's why we're the friendliest city in the world.
Yeah.
That's what, I mean, that's not a surprise. Condé Nast gives us that. My daughter, Frances, went to study abroad in Ireland about 5 or 6 years ago, I guess, and traveled all over Europe. And we made her do that. We said, you know what, it's cheap. While you get over there, fly to Paris, go to Italy, do that. She went to the concentration camps in Poland. I mean, she did everything. She did the highs and the lows of what you can imagine. She comes home, and I said, where was your favorite place? And she says, Galway, Ireland. And I went, really? Why? She said, because it reminded me of Charleston. And you know, for the past 6 years, Galway and Charleston have been flip-flopping the friendliest city in the world.
Right.
So when I first started paying attention to that Condé Nast magazine giving us in Galway, I said, well, dang, Frances saw something there that she sees in our city. And so that's interesting. My son, Steven's out of law school studying for the bar exam. And you know where they both live in? Charleston. They don't want to go anywhere else. Frances does, sort of. She's in the film industry.
Yeah.
And she's visited New York now, and she's thinking she needs to get out of here. But for 3 years, she's had employment in that film industry, whether it's commercials or TV shows or music videos. So, but they love this town, and I hope my wife and I gave them a little bit of that love, hopefully, but an appreciation of where we are. And people, gosh, we've been discovered, haven't we? Because we have a lot of people moving here.
Sure.
But what a great city we live in, and lucky enough to grow up in.
And obviously, a lot of people, as you mentioned, are moving to Charleston. What is it like for you to sit back and watch that?
Well, you and I both got caught in traffic this morning, right? We were about 20 minutes late. And where were you coming from?
Coming from my house.
Mount Pleasant?
No, downtown over here.
Okay, see, I was in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no matter where you are, that's something we're going to have to live with.
Okay.
I got to tell you the truth. I love that people are here. They're putting money in the economy. Folks are renovating some houses that needed to be renovated. All the new construction, man, there's a lot going on. So hopefully our infrastructure can withstand all that, and we have leaders that are going to figure out ways to address that. And I'm not doing a commercial for Carter, but I ride the bus all the time. And people they go, you do? You live in Mount Pleasant? I said, well, yeah, all you gotta do is put your bike on the front of it and ride around town when you're here. We've got free shuttle buses downtown.
Right.
And somebody just told me yesterday that if you're 55 or older, you get to ride for free. So I might quit buying my pass and ride it a lot more. So, you know, people are just gonna have to adjust to that. And it's just a fact of life. It's a way of life. Look, the first few people that got here, kind of the word spread that, hey, this is a good place to be. And I'm talking back in 1670. Right. So we've been growing ever since.
Yeah.
And it's just another another step in their evolution as a region, really, not just a city, but I think the middle of that region, obviously the heart of it, the heartbeat of it, is Charleston.
And you talk about leaders. Let me take you to Charleston Mayor, current Mayor John Tecklenburg.
Yeah.
How would history begin to write his legacy?
Oh my gosh, what a tough job to step into, to follow Mayor Raleigh after 40 years. And, he's had some bumps. I mean, he's had some headbutting with city council, it appears. I mean, I live in Mount Pleasant, so the city politics, I've gotten a little away from it as I get older too, because there's a lot of things going on. But I think he's done a fairly good job from the outward appearance, I think.
Okay.
I guess next year we'll see, right? Next year, the next election.
I believe so.
So I'm imagining that there are going to be some people lining up since he's just in his first term. But I think he's settled in. I saw him yesterday, and I said, "How you doing?" He went, "Man, it's busy." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You got a lot on your plate." I said, "Mayor of Charleston." And I said, "But you're doing fine. Just hang in there." And that's what everybody has to do. Doesn't matter who the mayor is. And John I've known forever,
Right.
And I call him Mr. Mayor. I try not to call him John. I tell him that I'm going to call him Mr. Mayor out of respect for that office.
Right.
But whoever's there, we got to support. After the election's over, whoever's the mayor, we need to because if they succeed, we do.
And obviously another talk around Charleston, when you think about history and tourism and economics, is the Palmetto Roses, particularly the Palmetto Artisans program.
Mm-hmm.
Where should this program go in your mind next?
Well, my brother Jimmy was instrumental in that. And when I see those kids, not the ones that chase you down the sidewalk, they got to have rules, and they do have rules. I think that's important. It keeps these kids hopefully on the street in the right way. When you say keep somebody off the street, you want them to make a living, not a living necessarily, but they can make some money doing that. I think it teaches them a skill, a valuable skill, that at the next level, when they get out of school, whether it's high school and technical school, college, or what have you, they've got a skill. They've followed some rules, and they've learned how to sell something. Sales drives our country. I mean, salesmen, there's salesmen everywhere that you go. And I just think it's a good thing. And I understand the frustration of some folks that say I don't think they bother people that much. I've never been. I walk up and down the street all the time. And so hopefully there's some solution to that. Did they come to a conclusion the other night? I know they had a meeting, but I think it was just more of an informational thing.
And I believe the task force is going to be developed.
Yeah, and hopefully my brother Jimmy will get on that. I don't know if he will or not. I hadn't talked to him about it. It's one of those when you see those wonderful, mostly ladies that make the sweetgrass baskets, and I have one of my favorites, and I saw her every day. I won't say her name, but she's taught me a lot about, and I'll say her first name, Deborah. I can't go by her without getting a hug, and she wants to hug, and she hugs everybody in my group.
Right.
And that maybe says something about that patience of sitting there and making those.
Oh, yes.
That's quite an art.
Right.
And that's why I tell people, they look at me and go, "Oh my gosh, that's expensive." I said, it's a lot cheaper than a painting. And it's going to last a lifetime or two or three as long as you take care of them.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of those rose kids.
Okay.
But there have to be regulations. There have to be enforced somehow, but not with a heavy hand. These kids are kids. They need to be hugged is what they need to be done with them and shown the right way to do things and not fussed at.
And obviously you're heading out on the next tour in a couple of hours, I believe.
Yep.
So what would you talk about next as far as history in Charleston?
It depends on where I start. If I start at City Hall, I love to talk about the Four Corners of Law. It's such an interesting, and when we have an international visitor especially, and I talk about St. Michael's 1752, they look at you like, so? Because they're from Europe. They've got 1,000-year-old buildings of it. And so no one yet has had Four Corners of Law in their country that they've heard, that they could remember right off the bat. So That, you know, I sometimes start at the Exchange Building. What a historic building that is. And the fun thing is when you stand over there on East Bay Street and tell people that there used to be a wall over there and it went down into the Cooper River, and they go, wait. And I said, yeah, the Cooper River is 3/4 of a mile that way.
Right.
Everything that's here is built. And I said, matter of fact, most of downtown is built on what was marsh.
Right.
So people don't realize that. And they don't realize our role in the American Revolutionary War.
Okay.
Everybody thinks that our history started with the first shot of the Civil War. So to take people back and say, no, we're a little bit older than that. We are one of the 13 colonies is fun to do. And then sometimes, you know, you get the little goosebumps of going, dang, we've been around 350 years. That's a long time. So our folks over the years, somebody was doing something right. We had some good leadership.
Well, that's so good to hear. Well, Steve Bailey, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
And yell at me on the street. And if I look around, you know, when you do that, I'm on the like the four corners, it echoes, and I can't tell where it's. I hear Steve, and I'm looking all around, going, who's calling me?
It's me.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good to be with you.
Likewise. Yeah.